It's
value
one
exchange.
side. Look, that's why American relationships are failures. That's why American women, on a global context, are the worst for relationships, long-term period. That's why the divorce rate is the highest in the world here, and that's why, on the desirability level, American women are at the bottom of the global barrel. This is all statistically documented from men, because at the end of the day, the ones who decide if a woman is valuable for a relationship is men.
Well, the man is the person that's going to have to, obviously, propose and buy the ring and all that stuff.
And give them the ring.
Real quick, I just want to have everybody answer this.
There is a study by Morgan Stanley Financial. They did you can go find it too. It's online. It's called The Rise of the She Economy. In that sort of research, they postulate that by 2030, women between the ages of 25 and 44, something like 52%. I hope I'm getting my numbers right. Something like 45 to 52%.
It's over half.
Yeah, over
it is going to be over half
of women of marriageable age will be single for the rest of their lives. They will not reproduce unless they get unless they get artificial insemination, but they will be unmarried and childless during those ages by 2030, which is like a very, very steep incline. In fact, they are so certain of this that they did this research on Morgan Stanley so their investors would know what to invest in the coming decade.
It is possible that 45% of modern women residing in America may find themselves single and without children within the next 7 years. Gentlemen, are you optimistic about the prospect of relationships improving? Do you believe that men and women will reunite and live happily ever after? Or do you find yourself waiting on the sidelines, skeptical of the current state of society and modern relationships? Let's explore both sides of the argument for a moment. I want to offer you all the wake-up call. Many of you may not fully grasp the extent of the challenges we face in our society today and how deeply influenced women have become. Therefore, it should not come as a surprise when you hear that nearly half of them struggle to find suitable partners and are likely to remain childless. Various entities, such as government groups, agendas, corporations, and society at large, may be collaborating to keep women single and oppressed. While there may be instances that challenge this notion, a closer examination of the media's constant influence on both genders reveals a lack of promotion for traditional values, family units, and harmony between genders. It rather focuses on progressivism, individualism, disunity, and friction between genders, as if there is a reluctance to see men and women together. Moreover, the strong emphasis on dividing the masses suggests an incentive to keep men and women apart instead of fostering unity. Perhaps this incentive is driven by financial motives, considering that women are the primary spenders and consumers in America. The word consumer often brings to mind the idea of a parasite, which aptly describes the behavior of certain individuals who seem to thrive off the system or exploit men without contributing anything valuable in return. It is not far-fetched to entertain the fact that influential individuals have a vested interest in keeping women single and engaged in the workforce, as it benefits them financially while leaving families in increasingly dire financial circumstances. In addition to the monetary incentive theory, another possible factor could be population control. The birth rate has been steadily declining in our country for many years, and projections indicate that more women than ever before will be without children by the year 2030. When considering these facts, it seems apparent that the shadowy figures pulling the strings may not desire a baby boom in the foreseeable future. When we examine the monetary incentive theory alongside the population control theory, it becomes logical to keep women single and actively participating in the workforce, thereby allowing wealth to flow from the population to those who benefit from the destabilization of the traditional family structure. Maintaining long-term wealth or establishing generational wealth relies on having a solid family structure to pass it down to. Without heirs, the money may end up in the hands of the government, or your family might engage in bitter disputes over it, leading to an unpleasant situation. People recognize that a family serves as a powerful tool to responsibly utilize the wealth left behind after their passing. Alternatively, establishing a charitable foundation and using the funds to shape the future for generations to come can be the next best option. When families become divided, and wealth is unjustly taken through legal systems by women who selfishly spend it on trivial matters from corporations and businesses, the outcome is simple. Corporations, businesses, and the government benefit as wealth is transferred to them, instead of being passed on to the next generation. Consequently, each successive generation becomes poorer while corporations and businesses grow increasingly affluent and influential over time. They then wield the power to drive societal changes, as we witness today with certain health-related big businesses. This may only be a small portion of what is occurring in society, but the fact remains that there exists a vested interest in promoting a female-focused agenda for the benefit of a particular group of shadowy individuals. If there were no advantages for those shadowy individuals, then there would have been a resurgence of emphasis on families and religion, similar to the olden days, as a means of controlling people. I cannot claim absolute certainty, but when you start connecting the dots, patterns emerge, and things begin to make sense. The media's promotion of the women's empowerment agenda from several years ago entailed a shift in power for men to dictate the actions of women both inside and outside the home, allowing them to exploit and drive change. If society had advocated for the preservation of marriages and family unity, our circumstances would be drastically different from what we observe today. However, that is not the narrative that receives promotion. Instead, singlehood, degradation, division, and cutthroat mentalities dominate. Modern women are merely pawns and foot soldiers for these agendas. They are being exploited by the shadowy figures to advance their own objectives. Therefore, it should come as no surprise when you hear that 45% of women will be single and childless, as they are being led down a path where contentment and fulfillment will forever elude them, much like lemmings blindly following their fate. For those hopeful guys who believe that things will improve and that you'll find your ideal woman to keep you warm at night, I want to make something clear. Unless there is a catastrophic collapse of epic proportions, that scenario will never come to pass. You see, women in America don't need you, and the harsh reality is that they don't even want you. What they truly desire is Mr. Benjamin, and they plan to extract it from you through relationships or marriage. Isn't that painfully obvious by now? With all the heartbreak, pain, betrayals, child support cases, and alimony cases that many men have endured, one would think that they would realize that women don't want them for who they are. And let's face it, the laws aren't going to change anytime soon either. So why would women return to men when you guys are more valuable to them as divorce victims, having every ounce of your blood, sweat, and tears drained from you? Most men fail to grasp this fundamental understanding. Realistically speaking, women aren't going back to men and traditional family structures. They are too busy embracing their strength, independence, and liberation to trade it in just so you can assert control and tell them what to do. This should be common knowledge in the realm of relationship dynamics, but unfortunately, many of you guys are failing to grasp the basics. Women have no intention of returning to men and the family unit. So the notion of a turnaround for relationships and breaking the cycle of singlehood and childlessness is utterly unrealistic and will never happen in our lifetime. Unless a monumental event shakes the foundations of society and forces women to rely on the protection of men, returning us to the natural order of male-female relationships, things will remain as they are. Allow me to support this bold claim by examining what occurred during the pandemic. People were dropping like flies, and there were moments when it felt like the beginning of the end. Yet look at the world today and ask yourself if anything substantial has changed to bring men and women together. It's a sobering reality, but one that needs to be acknowledged. The current trajectory shows no signs of uniting men and women in harmonious relationships. What more can be said? The engines of change are propelling us forward, and there's no turning back to traditionalism. Perhaps the best course of action is to accept that the worst is yet to come, and simply observe the decline from the sidelines. That's exactly what I'm doing at this moment. I have no faith in modern women making positive changes for the betterment of human civilization. From my perspective, society is heading towards a bleak future, with the shadow dwellers taking control and leading us into a modern dark ages. Gullible individuals will assist modern women in pushing us further into the abyss. Consequently, there is no doubt that we will be close to the predicted state by 2030. It may be in your best interest to stay where you are and observe whether your marriage ends in divorce, or if you become one of the success stories. However, if you gather evidence of your spouse engaging in suspicious activities or planning to leave you, it might be worth considering filing for divorce. Please note that I am not providing legal advice, but merely presenting some food for thought.